You ever feel stuck, unsure what to do, or unable to move forward? Of course you do. I'm Adam from Dirty Roots Berlin, and I've been growing indoor plants for over 25 years. Been running a creative studio for the last 7 where we use plants as an artistic medium. And for the past few weeks, I have been doing The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, and every week I've been doing a weekly review. So this is going to be the weekly review of week 5. If you're not familiar with this, The Artist's Way is a great book/program by Julia Cameron. It's a 12-week program to restart or reinvigorate your creativity or help you get unblocked. And at the end of each week, there's a review. So we're going to go through that review, and I do that here on camera. I've done The Artist's Way before. This is my second time doing it. This is my first time doing it on camera. And the idea being that on camera, it's going to help me be a little bit more honest, maybe actually do a bit more of the tasks and stick with it and go through the process a little bit more deeply, and hopefully help you guys as well for watching along. So we just finished week 5. And it was, it was a pretty difficult week, not nearly as bad as last week. Last week was quite difficult, but this week was also very much a challenge. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through exactly what needed to be done. So every week there's sort of 2 main tasks that are going to be consistent from week to week, and that is your morning pages. Every morning by hand you write 3 pages, so I do that in a notebook. You're supposed to do that every morning, and I did that 6 out of the 7 days, all 3 pages. Yesterday I was unable to finish that because I had an appointment, and I got to 2 and like a third of a page. So I still had about 2/3 of my second page to finish. So I didn't actually get all 7 this week, which I was a little disappointed by, but I got quite a lot of them done. I did do them every 7 days. I just didn't finish them every 7 days. The next big task that you do from every week is what's called an artist date. And that is where you take yourself out on a date. I wasn't sure what I was going to do this week. I had a couple of options, one of which was I went climbing, and I've been doing that a bit more. And I was just like, well, I'm going to spend a couple of little extra time really doing that, and sort of walking around and enjoying just being by myself for more than just like an hour, but like a couple of hours. So that was really fun. The other option I had was maybe I went to Vibali, which is a spa here in Berlin. But I ended up going with a friend, and these artist dates are really things that you do completely alone. So because I went with somebody else, that didn't end up being my artist date. Had I gone alone, I think that would have been. But it did make me realize I think I might do that for an artist date coming up here in the future, just because I think it'll be really nice to just go alone and, just maybe zone out and be in my own little world in that way. So, but I did go climbing for about 2 hours, and also went on a really nice long walk before and afterwards. So I spent, got about 5 hours just sort of with myself as well. So I did it in my own way. So that was really cool. So that was my artist date for the week. So there were a couple of exercises this week that, every week there are tasks that we do, but then there's also sometimes some exercises throughout sort of the reading. And one of those was sort of the wish list. So you write down the sentence, I wish, and then whatever, 10 times. So you do that for 10 different times. And I had some stuff like be more open, I wish I could fly, smile more, I wish there were more frogs in the world. I don't know why. I have a soft spot for frogs. But so you do all of that. And then once you get to the end, you write down 10. And then at the very end, it's sort of my most especially wish. And that one really surprised me. I'm not going to say what that was. Not exactly what I expected at all, but definitely fun to see that. Not nearly what I would have expected. And that's the whole point, is to kind of catch yourself by surprise in a lot of this. I'm not supposed to be thinking about it and trying to decide, but rather just let come out what comes out. And that definitely, there were some fun ones. So the next task was reasons why you can't believe in a supportive God. And you're supposed to come up with 5 reasons why you can't believe in a God that would be supportive. And I definitely here have some, I would say, anger issues around this. Growing up in a fairly evangelical Christian community, I found there were a lot of reasons why I find it difficult to believe in a supportive God at this point. And I think that's partly due to many of the things that I saw during my time there. Yeah, so that was not too surprising, but definitely cathartic, I would say, in some ways. So now we're getting into the tasks for the week, and there's a bunch more of these sort of list style tasks. And with that, you're supposed to start creating what's called an image file. So collecting images of these things that you start writing down in these lists. So if you see them in magazines, I guess, or online, you can make sort of a board or whatever. I just have been clipping these out of magazines. Right now, they're just sort of all stacked into a pile. I don't have them set up or anything, but I've been collecting images that somewhat represent some of these things on the list. So the first task is if I had either faith or money, I would try. Living someplace warm by the ocean, that's for sure. I would try going out to nice restaurants more often. I think I really like that. I just don't necessarily believe that I have the faith or money to go out to nice restaurants all the time. So yeah, I mean, there's stuff like this nice warm sauna, good chairs, private island. Not that I necessarily want to own a private island, but yeah, just some very warm, relaxing images in a lot of these. I definitely crave living somewhere warm, that's for sure. And Berlin does not quite suit that. One of the tasks was to write 5 more imaginary lives. I put down professional dungeon master. I do like running Dungeons and Dragons, boxer, a squirrel trainer. Not sure why that one came out, but could be kind of fun to train some squirrels. So the next list was if I was 20 and had money, what would I do? Move to Hollywood and make movies and act. I really wanted to make films and act when I was a kid. So particularly when I was in my 20s, that would have been a really big dream at that time. Not something I'm as interested in doing anymore. I think that the desire to do some acting does come up, but I don't really think I would enjoy it the same way I did when I was younger. Well, actually what I wrote is move to the jungle and live with the animals in nature. That would be cool. Also to live by the ocean as well. That would be pretty fun. I also wrote down that I would love to walk/motorcycle across the world. Not that I even know how to ride a motorcycle, but for some reason in my mind that seems like it would be a fun thing to do, particularly if you were young and had a lot of money. Train dogs, go golfing, yeah. If I were 65 and had a lot of money, I would sit on a yacht. Would definitely go bowling more. I would go hiking a lot more, for sure. So the next task was to list 10 things that we do that are mean to ourselves. Some of those things for me include things like rushing. I censor myself a lot or correct myself after I've said something to make sure that it's understood in the way that I want it to be understood, which is not really as necessary most of the time. I don't let myself want things. I found at some point it was better if I don't want things. So I really try not to have any sort of like desires or wants, which is not healthy, I found. Yeah, I don't allow myself to like what I like. I worry too much. I don't put my needs ahead where they need to be. I don't put myself first in a lot of situations, and I don't end up taking care of myself in a way that I should. The next task was to list 10 items that we would like to own that we don't. And surprisingly, the first handful of these had to do with clay, like throwing pottery, so a wheel and a kiln and some clay. Not sure why. I'm not particularly interested in it, but again, this is the stuff that came up when I was doing the exercise, so I'm rolling with it. Also, a massive 3D printer would be really nice. A greenhouse. I would love to have a greenhouse. Pool, sauna, a comfy couch would be great. I have a couch, but it is very uncomfortable. And yeah, I would like to have, not that I tend to sit down on the couch very often, but when I do, I would like to have a nice comfy place to sit. I don't have a TV, so it's not like I would be stuck there, you know, playing video games or watching TV or something all the time. But when I do just like need to chill and sit down, it would be nice to be able to do that somewhere that is comfortable. And right now, none of the chairs, couch, or bed is particularly comfortable to just sit and relax in. So we talk about our favorite creative block. And I would say, honestly, I think probably smoking too much cannabis is my creative block. I haven't been smoking very much recently, and it hasn't really made much of a difference yet, but I think that I often do that as a way to avoid feeling my feelings and instead just being more like okay with everything, which sometimes is a good thing. I think I often overreact. I think my feelings tend to be very strong and unnecessarily so. So I've used it as a way to help me self-regulate, but I think I often use it a little bit too much. So I've been trying to really cut that back, not use it as a way to avoid getting upset, but rather when I feel angry or feel upset, to allow myself to feel that, and instead use the cannabis as a way to relax and unwind, maybe after a day or something like that, as opposed to sort of more regularly. So the next task was to talk about our biggest payoff for staying stuck. Like, well, what benefit are we getting from staying stuck? And for me, I think the biggest thing that it's comfortable. Like, I know it. Like, it's easier to be stuck and not be judged than put myself out there and be judged for the things that I like. I think this goes back to partly why I don't let myself want things, because if I want things, then people can judge me for the things that I want. I don't think that this was ever consciously thought out, or, it's just something I'm starting to recognize as I'm going through these tasks here. Yeah, and that's basically it. I mean, the one other task is, who do we blame for creatively being stuck? I'm not going to say that here on camera, but I think I've been processing this quite a bit recently. So yeah, that's definitely important to recognize that and I need to take more responsibility for my being stuck rather than placing blame on somebody else. And that was basically the weekly review. It was definitely a really tough week here for me. I think next week will be fairly challenging as well. I'm going to be gone for most of next week and then part of the week after. So I'll be doing my next artist review, not here in Berlin, but in Canada. And that'll be fun. So I don't know, if you enjoyed, please consider subscribing and following along. And if you've done the artist way before, leave a comment. Let us know how it's worked for you. And yeah, I want to thank you all very much for watching. And I guess I'll see you all in the next one.